Israelis are staging a day of disruption intended to pressure their government to accept a ceasefire deal and secure the release of hostages from Gaza. The renewed call from the streets come as Benjamin Netanyahu's government presses on with its offensive to take control of all of the enclave. According to mediator Qatar, Israel has yet to respond to a ceasefire proposal Hamas agreed to over a week ago. We can now go across to Noga Tarnopolsky standing by in Jerusalem. Noga, Israelis are on the street once again trying to pressure Netanyahu to accept a ceasefire deal. Will he listen given that Israel is more and more isolated on the world stage?
Doesn't look that way, Delano. It doesn't appear that there are any chances. In fact, he seems to be not listening in an almost mocking way. We just found out this afternoon that the cabinet meeting that is supposed to culminate this day and against which so many, at least tens, possibly hundreds of thousands of Israelis are protesting, has in fact been cut short. Netanyahu does not need an actual vote from his ministers. He apparently got a general authorization from his cabinet a few days ago, permitting him and the defense minister to order the escalation of war and the incursion into Gaza City at any point. So today is not a serious cabinet meeting. There is no indication that the ceasefire proposed by Qatar, which you just mentioned, is under discussion. It does appear Israel will simply ignore that 9 days later. And we've heard that they're cutting the cabinet meeting short so that the prime minister can join others of his extremist ministers to pay homage to the leader of West Bank Jewish settlers, another man who is, I would say, under pressure from European sanctions and under the eye of the international media as violence by Jewish settlers against Palestinians has spiraled there.
Stay with us, Noga, because the criticism of Israeli actions in Gaza continue to pile up after it conducted a double strike on the enclave's Nasser hospital yesterday. The EU spokesperson says it was completely unacceptable, and the US President Donald Trump said he was not happy. The strikes killed 20 people, including 5 journalists, and while Israel says it's launching an investigation, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the hospital attack a tragic mishap. Noga, have we had any more reactions from the Israeli government to that double strike on a hospital yesterday?
We have not, and I think it's important to underscore that we have had 0 government statements about this incident in Hebrew. The Prime Minister's Bureau released the statement you just mentioned yesterday very discreetly, only in English, only in writing. In Israel, it has gone completely under the radar. So for the Israeli public, there remains enormous confusion about what may have actually happened there yesterday. And we have Amos Harel, the military analyst for the newspaper Haaretz, who indicates that among other questions, we are still waiting to know who gave the very unusual order to allow a tank to shell a hospital. That's something that has to go up the chain of command. And he believes, given the number of the deaths, 20, that it is entirely possible that more than those 2 tank shells we already have found out about were actually shot. So we're still awaiting, for lack of a better term, some bombshells there. I also want to mention to you, Delano, we've had an extraordinary statement from the former chief of staff of the army, Gadi Eisenkot, whose son was killed early in the war, whose 2 nephews were also killed during this war in a horrible coincidence. He has just said that that the government is unworthy of their sacrifice and that of all the other soldiers. He says his son Gal and all the others killed during this conflict died due to the political cowardice of the Netanyahu government, that it is unworthy of their sacrifice or of the lives of the hostages. His voice is one of those sounding the loudest and the most, I would say, chilling today among many voices we're hearing as Israelis do take to the streets in protest against the war.
Noga, thank you very much for that. Noga Tarnopolsky reporting there from Jerusalem.